The internet is a monster, a network which cannot be controlled. It's fast becoming the medium through which future major catastrophes may come about. Nuclear power stations, TV channels, military infrastructure, the list of victims grows daily.
My biggest nightmare is what we call the known unknowns. And what I mean by that, some of the attacks that we face are so sophisticated that they may have already been successful, and I don't know it. That is my biggest fear.
The Army, police, and intelligence services are trying to get a grip, but are they already too late?
It takes about 15 minutes to effectively kill somebody.
We want to take them out from behind their keyboards so they can no longer cause harm.
As someone who spent time in prison myself, I think prison should be for people who are a physical danger to other people.
Maybe we don't need to panic just yet, but we should all consider the risk of leaving our computers switched on.
I'm not sure we ever had control of the internet. Certainly there are a lot of devices on the net that we have no control over. That's true now, and it's always been true. The question to ask really is the internet being overwhelmed by devices that we can't control or can't secure?
Imagine Paris without electricity for 12 hours, without anything.
Do you think there could be something like a cyber apocalypse?
I pray across the fingers it will never happen, but unfortunately, technically, it's possible.
This film will take us through the looking glass of the internet, into the hidden secrets of the web. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's a lovely day somewhere in the center of Paris. Jean-Pierre Lesueur is a computer security expert who became famous when one of his creations, a piece of spyware or virus, was reported to have been used by Bashar al-Assad to hunt down Syrian rebels. Since he was little, Jean-Pierre has shown the same ease on a computer keyboard as on a piano. In his teenage bedroom, he perfected a virus called Dark Comet. A virus so simple to use and of such quality that it became a big hit with hackers around the world. But its success has also brought Jean-Pierre Lesueur a lot of trouble.
My goal was never to create a tool that could be used in cyber wars or for carrying out cyber espionage. I just thought that hackers, well, more like script kiddies, would use it to spy on their friends, girlfriends, people at school, and that they'd have fun with it. But I never dreamt that its use could be diverted to such an extent.
The realization hit Jean-Pierre hard when the magazine Wired, the Bible of Silicon Valley, revealed at the end of 2012 that the spyware he'd invented was being used by the Syrian army to track rebels hostile to the regime in Damascus. Jean-Pierre shows us his baby, a piece of software which lets you hack into any computer, unbeknownst to its owner.
So now I'm going to take control of the hacked computer. Here I have a complete overview of the computer. I can open files, look around, bring up stuff on the hard disk. I can see that the computer has a webcam, so I can activate it. There, you can see. I can turn on the mic too. Now I have sound and vision. There's a bit of feedback because the computers are side by side. The hacker can even send a message. Hi, I've taken control of your computer.
Jean-Pierre likes a job well done. Free and effective, Dark Comet has become a sort of benchmark for hackers.
On the internet, analysts estimate that it's among the top 7 most used pieces of spyware in the world today, which means it's used by hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of people. I need a memory stick with the Dark Comet code.
When he created his virus, Jean-Pierre simply wanted his talent to be recognized. He was playing a dangerous game.
There are those who compete in this game just to be known. I was one of that lot. Then there are those who do it for the money, selling products like black shades. The creator of that got arrested.
Jean-Pierre's motivation is the technical achievement. For his competitor, the creator of black shades, it was money. The FBI in New York called a halt on the competition between Dark Comet and Black Shades. Federal agent Patrick Hoffman was in charge of the case.
By the simplicity of the Black Shades malware, it became widely used online because you did not have to spend a lot of time working on learning code or being involved in the criminal world in order to access somebody's computer. This essentially allowed an individual that was just interested in learning about another person's family, about what that person is currently doing, such as an ex-spouse or ex-girlfriend or boyfriend. It also allowed the stealing of online credentials, such as usernames and passwords that could then be used at retail sites such as eBay, PayPal, or Amazon.
A naive teenager in France, programmers keen to make some money in the US. These viruses have fairly modest origins, but the damage caused by these DIY codes is impressive. Worldwide losses as a result of cybercrime were estimated at $400 billion for last year alone.
The creators of Black Shades were arrested in an FBI operation 2 years ago because they were selling their creation, which meant there was a criminal network behind them, and this got them arrested.
Were you ever questioned about Dark Comet?
Absolutely not. Never.
Yet major companies like Areva, the French nuclear power experts, have fallen victim to attacks which made use of Dark Comet, and they're not the only ones.
For example, in Syria, apparently, the software was used to track down opponents of the regime. That's a possibility, but it hasn't been definitely confirmed. It's been used against video game servers and against US Army bases, according to what I've read. And then recently, Miss Teen America was hacked by Dark Comet. The FBI discovered the presence of the software, traced it back to the hacker who used it, and he's now in prison.
The Dark Comet code is eternal, passing from hand to hand without Jean-Pierre Le Sueur being able to stop it.
Our mission in cyber is to identify, pursue, and defeat cyber adversaries. We are not simply looking to mitigate breaches. We want to identify the individuals responsible. We want to take them out from behind their keyboards so they can no longer cause harm, with the goal of ultimately prosecuting and putting them in jail.
There was another popular rat called Dark Comet. Are you aware of this Dark Comet product?
I am, but I have to tell you, I can't really comment on the arrest or status of any investigation into Dark Comet. So.
Jean-Pierre Le Sueur isn't on the FBI most wanted list of hackers. He's been careful never to get directly involved in illicit activities on the internet. But now, almost every day, he flinches at discovering the latest victim of his infernal offspring.
When you put out a piece of software on the internet, it's for life. If I'd known it would have such an impact on the cyber zone, I'd never have put it out there.
Every year in Monaco, there's a get-together for computer security professionals, austere-looking experts who are doing their best to maintain order on the net.
So the first question was, how many people...
Eugene Kaspersky is a star at these events.
The second question is, how many people still don't use internet banking?
One of a small number of Russian entrepreneurs to have made a fortune in technology, he's the boss of a leading antivirus software firm.
I don't use mobile banking as well, simply because... Hack me if you can.
Eugene enjoys spreading doom and gloom. Yet his worst predictions often turn out to be bang on the nail.
I'm afraid sooner or later they are traditional terrorists. They also will come to this idea to employ professional cyber criminals to assist them. I'm afraid that now the evolution of the cyber threats is coming from the simple cyber criminal attacks to the more complicated cyber attacks from criminals, plus state-sponsored attacks, and the traditional crime, the mafia, is coming to the same space. And I'm afraid they are all these components working together. Learning from the state-sponsored attacks, being in touch with the traditional crime, I think the next step, very logical step, that's cyber sabotage.
Cyber sabotage, or the possibility of affecting the physical world by means of a computer virus, the worst nightmare of security professionals. Nuclear power stations blowing up, airplanes rerouted in mid-flight, cars stolen using a mobile phone. All these scenarios are now conceivable.
Anyone know if this place has a fire code or not? Don't start fires. Yeah. If you start a fire, you have to share.
Suits and ties in Monaco, but shorts and Hawaiian shirts in Las Vegas at DEF CON, the annual convention for hackers, many of whom now work in computer security. They come here to check out the latest inventions. At this festival of smart Alex, they're all trying to surprise each other, and the cheekiest ideas are guaranteed to be hits. Some of these, however, can be positively disturbing. Chris Rock is from Australia, where he got interested in a booming but somewhat archaic industry, funerals. He discovered that without any technical fiddling, you can access the medical board's website and enter your name. Then, with just a computer and the desire, you can officially kill off someone for whom you harbor a grudge.
It takes about 15 minutes to effectively kill somebody, about 5 minutes from the doctor component and about 10 minutes from the funeral director.
15 minutes to wipe someone off the official records. A round of applause for Chris Rock. But this year, the prize for the most audacious hack has to go to Chris Roberts, a biker programmer from Denver with plenty of nerve.
You know, at DEF CON we have 10, 15, 20,000 people. A lot of them are interested in research. How do you regulate that research? And I think that's where some of the teams are trying to work with the government entities and industry and us to try to regulate that. But it's hard to do, and until they can do it, there are a lot of us who are going to say, okay, I want to test this. I want to see how it works. I want to see how it breaks.
A simple tweet made him famous around the world. In April 2015, Chris Roberts sent out a worrying message from a commercial flight. He intimated that by hacking into his seat's entertainment system, he'd managed to penetrate the flight computer. His exploit spread over social media, and on landing he was arrested and questioned by the FBI.
Would it be possible for somebody to actually take control of any kind of a transportation system, a plane or something? I would say yes, I think it would be. If they did enough research and they did enough work, I think it is theoretically possible, yes. It's a big one.
Is it really possible to take control of a plane via a Wi-Fi connection? Chris Roberts isn't forthcoming on the details, having been ordered by the FBI to keep silent about the whole affair.
The law is definitely closing in. By far and away, the Abuse Act and the various other acts that are out there, I think make it difficult to be able to do the research. For me personally, being able to actually research on the vehicle, the transportation systems, or the other areas without getting permission is tough, and they won't give me permission. So do I theorize or do I test? And that is where it definitely gets close to the law. I would much rather there's cooperation between what we do and the other authorities, but that isn't necessarily always the case.
In France, the defense of critical infrastructures is entrusted to the National Agency of Computer Security, or ANSSI. Dominique Ribon is the Deputy Director General.
Taking control of a plane from a passenger seat is totally impossible for one very simple reason. The flight control system is completely isolated from everything else, physically isolated. Honestly, I don't see how that would be possible, and we've looked into it very closely.
We're living in the cyber middle age. We have this great innovation, the cyber, but still we don't really know how to use it in a safe and secure way.
The experts disagree. Some want to reassure us, while others seek to scare us into paying for their services. Who really understands what goes on inside a computer? Is a catastrophe imminent or highly unlikely? When an attack happens, it can be devastating.
TV5 Monde has fallen victim to a powerful cyber attack. At home, you've seen your TV screens go blank.
One thing is for sure, this cyber attack is unprecedented on a large scale. The so-called Islamic State has claimed responsibility, proof that this terrorist group possesses considerable technological know-how.
TV5 Monde is a textbook cyber attack case. In April 2015, hackers hailing from a supposed cyber caliphate simultaneously took control of the airwaves and all the social networks of the international public service broadcaster.
Everything just stopped. It's a first in the history of television. All of our 12 channels, broadcast around the world to around 300 million homes, suddenly and simultaneously went blank. It's something never before seen in the history of television.
The Paris prosecutor's office has launched an investigation.
The fallout was considerable. Employees were badly inconvenienced, and the attack did over 15 million euros worth of damage.
We're up against determined terrorists, and we are determined to defeat them.
In the attack against TV5 Monde, fingers initially pointed at Islamic State. Yet the usual rule with cyber attacks is their impenetrability. Can you track an attack to a particular origin?
That's not my problem. It's not ANSSI's problem. We're firemen. When firemen rush to put out a fire, they don't try to find out who started it.
Is there something to hide here? Or is it all about putting a mysterious spin on a truth that's hard for politicians to admit? The police are still investigating. Have you been able to identify the origin of the attacks against TV5 Monde?
Well, as this TV5 Monde case is currently under investigation, I can't say very much.
All right. But we've had some official word attributing it to a group of Russian hackers. Can you confirm that? Is there a way of being completely anonymous when you're online?
Yes, with a good virtual private network.
Can we see how it works?
I simply go online. I've already configured one here. You can see that I'm correctly located as being in Paris.
Then, just like those who attacked TV5 Monde, Jean-Pierre hid his whereabouts with a couple of clicks.
And now the location is Telenor Norge AS, which is in Sweden, as you can see there. I'm no longer in Paris, virtually speaking. I'm now in Sweden.
In fact, any surfer who wants to remain completely hidden can do so. And since 2001, the United States has been financing a secret part of the internet, the deep web. Inaccessible from Google and hiding underneath the official web, there exists another anonymous internet. This deep web is frequented by all those who need to hide: hackers, traffickers, terrorists. It's hard to access, but can be browsed via Tor.
Originally, it was a network intended to ensure anonymity for quote-unquote good reasons. For example, for journalists in countries where their lives could be in danger, in countries that filter access to the internet so that users can only visit certain sites. By using Tor, they could get around these filters and get real information, unfiltered by governments. So that was a positive use.
Is the Tor network making your job more difficult?
Well, anything out on the internet that anonymizes where attacks may come from or anonymizes activity it clearly makes it difficult to understand who actually is attacking you and then from that what they want.
But still, the Tor network is being subsidized by
well, you'd need to ask the United States of America that question.
I've heard that the FBI has found a way of spying on what goes through Tor. Do you use this in the French police? On the deep web, drugs are openly for sale. Weapons can be bought without leaving any trace. Fake papers can be made to measure. And if you're doing business on the deep web, the police will struggle to identify you. They'll catch up with you soon enough, though, once your ill-gotten gains turn up in your bank account. Yet there's a solution to this, too. In 2009, a certain Satoshi Nakamoto invented a currency the banks do not control, the Bitcoin.
I think the thing that makes Bitcoin unique is the fact that it's a digital version of money. And kind of like how the internet was the freeing of information. Before the internet, people didn't really realize the benefits free information could bring to society. I think Bitcoin, being that it is, it's a form of money that exists on the internet, it will have the same amount of profound effect on society, because people will start to realize that now commerce on the internet, or global commerce without intermediaries, is now possible, because now money of the internet is now possible. So I think that's what really makes Bitcoin exciting.
The Bitcoin sounds like an anarchist dream. A handful of programmers set up their own currency via a network that belongs to no one. No more central banks, banking commissions, or yearly tax declarations. A libertarian currency it may be, but it's also a breath of fresh air for organized crime and money launderers. At first of marginal interest, the Bitcoin soon caught on. Marc Carpelis, a Frenchman living in Tokyo, would come to symbolize the turbulent adventure of the Bitcoin. A fan of manga and apple pies, Karpeles decided to create an international exchange for the Bitcoin, Mt. Gox. Thanks to Mt. Gox, pioneers of the virtual currency could buy and sell Bitcoins with and for real money. It was a huge hit. A few months after Mt. Gox was launched, Mark Karpeles was as surprised as anyone else when the price of the Bitcoin soared from $40 to $1,200.
How much real money are we talking when when you see money going in and going out? Depending on the days, we get, let's say, between $20 million incoming in our system. In terms of outgoing transfers, currently we see $300,000 to $1 million going out a day. So since there's lots of money flowing in and not much flowing out, I guess there's room for Bitcoin price to raise more.
The Tokyo police couldn't make head or tail of it. Was Mark's company legal or not? Wasn't Mt. Gox just some new money laundering machine? In August 2015, the axe fell, and the financial police made a big show of arresting the Frenchman. Mt. Gox was bankrupt. And to its clients' despair, the sum of $500 million, or 650,000 Bitcoins, had vanished from the deep web's coffers.
I think the cybercrimes faction was looking at Mark as a victim rather than a villain. But then the White Collar Crimes Division came on board and said, well, a lot of money has been lost. Somebody has to go to jail.
There must have been some hackers who got in and realized that if they emptied all of the Bitcoins that were on the server in the hot wallet at once, they would have been instantly detected. So it looks like they opted to slowly steal Bitcoins over time, and that worked because they eventually got all of them.
But the collapse of Mt. Gox wasn't the end of the Bitcoin. Fans of the virtual currency still meet regularly in this little bar in Roppongi, where they openly vent their spleen. Roger Ver, known as the Bitcoin Jesus, was particularly hard hit by Mark Karpeles' fall from grace.
I don't know what happened. So and it was his job to keep everybody's Bitcoin safe, and he failed at that, but we don't know exactly what happened. Maybe there's a bunch of stuff behind the scenes. If a bunch of hackers did steal it, it was Mark's job to protect us from those hackers.
So the bad guys stole the Bitcoins. $500 million went up in smoke. But this was no traditional holdup. It was a lot weirder than that. Julian Glass is a close friend of Mark's.
This is a photo of Mark in his flat.
He rails against the accusations thrown at his friend and comes up with some interesting ideas of his own.
If someone, by whatever means, managed to pocket $500 million, why would they hang around in the country in plain sight of everyone when they've had plenty of time to get away? They could have left before.
Do you think there's been pressure on Japan from outside?
Oh yes, I'm sure of it.
What sort of pressure?
It could be pressure from the American government or from banking lobbies. Not everyone has been happy about the Bitcoin's success.
In what way are the banking lobbies affected by the Bitcoin?
It's money they don't have access to, and that bothers them. The banks don't like not having access to this money. They don't like not having control of it.
You mean that major institutions, such as American ones, could have attacked Mt. Gox so as to bankrupt the company?
That's just one example, but yes.
Banks plotting together to organize the downfall of Mark Karpeles? A provocative hypothesis. But it's true that Mt. Gox did oversee billions of dollars worth of transactions over which the tax authorities or financial institutions had no control. Mark Karpeles was playing a risky game against powerful interests.
And I totally agree with your assessment that the governments would try to stop.
Jamie Dimon, president of JP Morgan and the world's most powerful banker, responded to a question at a recent seminar organized by the magazine Fortune.
Based on Bitcoin. So how would you see that play out?
It's just not going to happen. I mean, you're wasting your time.
So you think they
when the DOJ calls someone up and says that's an illegal currency and it's against the laws of the United States of land, if you do it again, we'll put you in jail, it's over.
So you really
there's no issue. There will be, and this is my personal opinion, there will be no real non-controlled currency in the world. There's no government that's going to put up with it for long.
Echoing Jamie Dimon's declarations, the American government requested that the Tokyo police hand over the files from the old Bitcoin bank. The Japanese prosecutor blocked access to any document which could reveal the origin of the thieves. Mark Corpelis, the perfect scapegoat, awaits his judgment in prison.
Bitcoin is a great innovation, but right now I'm afraid the world is not ready for that. Because on the state level, on a criminal level, the cryptocurrencies, they generate more problems than the profit. So I'm afraid that the states are not really happy what's going on. Maybe I'm not surprised if there will be, if we see the more regulation, but the idea is absolutely great. And I really think that our grandkids, they will live in a world with united global currencies like Bitcoins.
Utopians around the world dream of doing good, while criminals and the authorities quickly bring them back down to earth.
Cyber criminals, they want money. Espionage, they want to take your data. And cyber sabotage, cyber terrorism, they want to kill you. And
The internet brings different worlds together in strange mashups. Imagine, for example, a criminal group hired by spies to play at being terrorists. Madness, right? Well, apparently not, when you learn the truth about the attack on TV5 Monde.
The aim of this attack was the destruction of TV5 Monde. Another fact revealed by this investigation is that the attackers were a group of Russian hackers known as APT-28.
APT-28 is a group of Russian hackers with well-established methods. Their particular skill set can fetch a high price, but they'd have had no financial interest in attacking TV5 Monde. So who paid them? There's no shortage of hypotheses. It's murmured that the Kremlin may have financed the operation when relations between Paris and Moscow were in a bad way over the Mistral helicopter carrier's affair. But shush, the diplomats are keeping a tight lid on the truth. Today, all the world's armies are lusting after cyber weapons, and their use is made all the more attractive since a country can use them without its enemy ever being 100% sure of the origin of the attack.
Computer weapons must provide a controlled reinforcement for conventional forces. This is a new form of intense attack with effects that can be quite considerable. Everyone here knows about the Stuxnet virus, which got deep into the heart of a well-fortified device, i.e. an Iranian nuclear power plant.
Stuxnet was the first large-scale cyber weapon. It was conceived in 2010 by Israel and the United States to put a brake on the Islamic Republic of Iran's nuclear program. The operation worked perfectly, pushing other nations to arm themselves with their own cyber weapons.
They are weaponizing of internet and South America, North America, of course, many European nations, Asian nations as well. Unfortunately, many states, they are in this cyber arm race. I hope, I pray, they will never use it.
So what is a cyber weapon? It's a virus designed to infiltrate a particularly sensitive objective. In the case of Stuxnet, the aim was to sabotage the centrifuges used for enriching uranium, which could then be used in nuclear weapons. For several years, Stuxnet disturbed the Iranians' production without being detected. How is this possible? Stuxnet is a supervirus which exploited a series of vulnerabilities spotted in the centrifuge's software. These weaknesses are known as zero-day vulnerabilities, which cyber weapons can exploit because they are undetectable. Finding zero-day vulnerabilities can be a lucrative business, and whole squadrons of keyboard maestros seek flaws in software that could let them infiltrate very high-profile machines. The race to find the ultimate zero-day vulnerability is on.
The more powerful the zero-day exploit, the more extensive the infection, and the simpler it is to set up, the more money you can command for it.
A zero-day vulnerability is like a hole on a road which all drivers use. Someone finds the hole, this anomaly that could cause accidents, but rather than reporting it, he sells its location to a government or a terrorist group, which can then use it to carry out an attack. The most famous producer of zero-day exploits in the world is French. His name is Shaoki Bekrar. For years, he and his team have been winning all the international hacking competitions. He even presents himself as the Darth Vader of the Internet. His company, Vupen, was based in Montpellier in the south of France, but in 2012 it reoriented itself after signing a contract with America's National Security Agency. Suddenly, Vupen became one of the most profitable companies in France, with profits of over €1 million for a turnover of a little under 3 million. With Vupen already a huge success, Bekrar decided to up sticks and move the whole company to a little town outside Washington, D.C. Despite several attempts to question him, Shaoki Bekrar has obstinately refused to say a word about his company's activities. So we decided to seek him out and question him about the destructive capacity of his weapons. His last known address is in Odenton, only 50 meters from the ultra-secure fence of the very secret National Security Agency. The NSA has been given powers by the American government to eavesdrop on everyone and everything. Vupen, it seems, may have been integrated into a sort of incubator for startups which specialize in writing software for American espionage.
Did you have a meeting with them?
No, I'm trying to locate them.
I'm afraid I don't know them at all.
No, they're not here. I'm not finding anything in their past member list.
Yeah, but I do see an announcement in 2013 that they were moving to Maryland and joining the CIC, but I don't recognize them for our past lists either.
Not known at that address. We try a source in Baltimore.
Okay, they actually moved. That address would have been changed. So you would have to contact National Corporate Research.
Yeah, and I think in Delaware, one reason that people like to incorporate in Delaware is because they don't have to tell people who owns the corporation and where they're located. So.
Another change of address. The third witness can attest to the fact that Vupen's activities have been registered in the United States, but tells that the company has since been dissolved. It's the same story in France. The company has been liquidated in Montpellier. It would seem that Bekrar now runs a mysterious site that's appeared from nowhere called Zerodium. Zerodium has made itself famous by offering $1 million to any hacker who can provide it with a zero-day vulnerability for listening in to conversations on the latest iPhones. Is it likely Bekrar would be offering $1 million of his own dollars for a vulnerability, the exploitation of which would be a federal crime in the United States? No. To be venturing into such terrain, he must have allegiance to some government or other. And it seems likely that the NSA is the umbrella under which Shaoki Bekrar is now sheltering his activities. It remains to be seen whether this sponsorship will lead to a sustainable relationship.
Selling such vulnerabilities to people who would use them to ends that would most probably not be very honest and would show a flagrant lack of ethics, which wouldn't be surprising in the modern world, as morals have taken quite a beating of late. But it would be morally unacceptable. Making money is all very well, but still.
What if these vulnerabilities were sold to the French military?
That's different, completely different.
Bruce Schneier teaches at Harvard and is one of the most highly regarded cybersecurity experts in the United States.
Are you first in line? Yes, I believe I am. Okay, so I sort of see where that mic is.
His eccentric personality wins over defenders of public freedoms just as much as hackers.
Right now, there is a very robust market of zero-day vulnerabilities. They're purchased by governments, they're purchased by corporations, they're purchased by criminals. This is bad. I mean, this really helps make the internet insecure. I think vulnerabilities should be disclosed and patched. And if governments stockpile vulnerabilities, they're increasing their vulnerability as well as the world's vulnerability. I want to see the US buying up vulnerabilities and then publishing them and fixing them.
We saw several cases when the state-sponsored, very complicated, very professional attacks, they got wild. And criminals, they had the copies of these attacks. And very soon they were learning and they were copy-pasting the 0 days, the vulnerabilities, the new techniques, and these technologies, they were used in the criminal software. So this is very, important to understand that the software is software, the cyber is cyber, and it's very easy to copy-paste.
The issue is that both nation-states and criminals are creating very sophisticated tools, and I don't think we're going to see an end to that. And the answer to that is we need to get ahead of them to make sure we're being proactive in stopping those threats from actually impacting us. So whether it's a criminal actor or a nation-state, malware is an issue, both for our economy, but also for individuals in their homes.
I think that the sale of 0 days and exploits to governments and entities that want to do a lot of work on basically spying on us and keeping an eye on us is wrong. You take an issue or vulnerability that can affect millions of computer systems, and rather than fixing those computer systems and helping everybody to get better, you use it just to spy on 10, 15, or 20 people. I don't agree with that. I think that's the wrong way of doing it.
Do you think there could be something like a cyber apocalypse?
I pray across the fingers. It will never happen. But unfortunately, technically, it's possible.
The network develops like a living creature. Jean-Pierre Lesueur, Marc Corpales, or Shaouki Bekrar have seen their lives turned upside down by the power of a tool they thought they could control. Gangsters, spies, and terrorists are flooding the internet. A massive shock could be awaiting us just over the horizon. Are we ready? What's your worst nightmare in your activity?
Not being able to use an RRT kit in time, for example. Not intervening quickly enough and confining the problem immediately.
How long does it take to deploy such a kit?
It's pretty quick. I'd say it'd be in the region of 72 hours.
72 hours to deploy a kit?
Yes, the time for the decision to get back.
Meaning?
The decision-making process takes some time. There has to be agreement among the various NATO nations.
Oh, come on. This isn't an Ingmar Bergman film.
How good was the English of the French law enforcement people?
Sorry, I wasn't ready for that question.
Well, you probably could. You probably could, yes. It's a tough question to ask because having the internet or having no internet, we used to have no internet 20 years ago and we survived then just fine. So I've got no problem with having no internet at all.